Hey expats and travelers, I'm Kaylee with Expats Everywhere, and today I sit down with Luke, the CEO of Tytle. Tytle is a tax platform that has professionals all over in different countries waiting to assist you with your move, with the tax implications, and everything you need to know. We're going to talk about different scenarios, different percentages, and what you need to know about your tax implications in different countries. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before we unpack and do different scenarios, tell us a little bit about these 5 countries and some things we need to know.
Yeah, we got France, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Greece today.
Okay.
Which are all countries that are very popular on the Tytle platform as well. They all kind of differ. They all have their strengths, their weaknesses. They're all favorites with expats immigrants moving into those countries. But for example, Portugal just had the end of their non-habitual residence regime, which was a famous regime for a lot of expats and immigrants because it gives you a lot of tax breaks and deductions. But that ended, unfortunately. But it's still really good, for example, crypto. So Portugal is still good for crypto and for, of course, other things. France is a little bit more complex. It's generally good for coming as an expat, but you need to qualify for a lot of rules. So it's a bit more complicated. So that's a little bit less easy to work with. And you got Spain, which is really good for expat and income. You got the Beckham law, which is famous for this. So it reduces your employment income to a good level if you qualify. Then you got Italy, which also has a good regime for expats. And then you have Greece. And Italy and Greece are kind of the perfect countries for retirement, for like pensionees. Okay. And that is kind of a very high level, quick overview. But of course, they all have their own numbers that are different and everything like this. But that's a high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tytle goes through all these different scenarios, like what would be working best for someone, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can work with all these countries, and we are really good and we have expertise in like how does it work between the countries as well. If you move from one to the other, or if you come from the US, let's say, and you move to Portugal, how does that interaction work?
Okay, so obviously someone needs to take a lot into consideration when thinking about these countries, like cost of living and lifestyle, but we're going to focus a bit on the taxes. We put together a few different profiles of people, different scenarios, so that someone can see if they relate to one. And then of course we'll put chapters in this so anyone can move around to find the scenario that fits best for them. Yep. So let's start with the first one, which is?
Remote worker or freelance workers earning 60,000 euros, more or less. We just made that picture. We're just going to go through the 5 countries really quickly and see what that profile will look like in each one of those countries. So we got Portugal. In Portugal, of course, sad NHR ended. So there's not that many benefits to be had there. If you just think about your income as a freelancer, you'll be taxed according to the national rules, which is just progressive income tax, which is quite high. It goes into the 40s, So that's quite high. So then we have Spain. So I'm gonna, for now, don't talk about Portugal.
Sad.
Maybe, it's maybe a year ago it was different. Spain is favorable. It's good. You can have a digital nomad classification, which is very similar to the Beckham rule that we talked about earlier. You can get a flat tax of 24% if you qualify, up to 600K yearly income, right? So super favorable, super good. So Spain is definitely high on our list for those types of income. It's very good. Then you have Italy. Italy is also really, really good. It's actually our favorite for this type of category. If we had to pick favorites, So Italy has this 5 to 15% tax, so you can generally get if you qualify for this, of course, if you're a freelancer or start a business there. And that is also a good thing because Italy has golden visas. So you can also still invest in Italy if you need a visa to come in there, then start a business or become a freelancer, apply for this rule. And in general, you can think about a 70 to 90% tax break if you look at all the other things you can do in Italy. So for remote workers, Italy is really good and I really like it.
Okay.
Greece, we have also a very favorable country with Greece. In Greece, because they came out of the financial crisis really, ruptured and broken, unfortunately, they had a lot of high taxes for a few years and a lot of brain drains, a lot of people left. So they have now installed some really good regimes to get people back into the country, invest in the country. And so you have a certain regime for expats where you can kind of get a 50% tax break on your taxable income.
Okay.
And that, it's really good. It's also kind of a digital nomad classification type of regime. And then we can move on to France. So France is a country that is complex, like I said before. But you are able to get a 30% tax break in France if you qualify for that.
All right.
So it requires a bit more work, which of course Tytle can help with, but you need to qualify for certain things. And it's a little bit too long to get into, so look it up on a website or online. Just go have a Google, and you'll get there pretty quickly. It can be done, and 30% is still a really good tax break. It's just not on the top of our list of easy countries to immigrate to when it comes to a favorable tax rate.
Okay.
So, like I said, the favorite country for us, and also what we see with the numbers coming in, in a platform and people that work with us, is Italy.
Okay.
It is just so favorable, and it really shows that they want people to come in and live there, invest there, and work from there.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. What is our next scenario?
Our next scenario will be pensionees, retirees. We have, let's say, a fictitious income of 36,000 from a pension. Then, if you're looking at that amount and kind of freedom you have in those 5 countries, we quickly get it down to Italy or Greece.
Okay, Italy again, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I can go over Portugal, but NHR ended. France, they don't really have a regime for this. Spain, it's also quite limited, and we just really see that if you are optimizing for just most, available income after tax, it's Italy and Greece, and they're quite similar. So both have a regime where you have 7% of a tax rate.
Okay.
Which is really good,
yeah,
right?
Just a flat 7% on...
It's flat,
okay.
7%, and it will go for 10 years in, I have to say this the right way, around 10 years for Italy, and 15 years for Greece will be the regime, like the duration for this. But there is a caveat with Italy, is that it's only for the southern regions, like Sicily and Puglia and some of the other southern regions over there, which are beautiful, right?
Okay.
Amazing lemons in Sicily.
All right. Limoncello.
Limoncello,
yeah.
It's amazing.
Okay.
So you can live there and get a really good tax break and just a good regime to like live by. Then you have in Greece, it's without any municipality restriction. So Greece is a little bit more free, and you can just go anywhere where you want with this regime.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a bit technical. So there are tax breaks, but it's a bit technical. So you need
it's
to
a
know
little bit more technical.
where and how long.
And you need to like the regions.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess
obviously
anything in Italy will be, assigned for.
Yeah. Okay. So then, in comparison, if Italy and Greece are 7%, what is France?
France doesn't have a regime, unfortunately, for this. So you just fall on the regular income. Generally, pension will be classified as regular income and taxed as such.
Okay. And that's the same for Spain and Portugal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course, bar some deductions and things you can use, right? There's always certain things, but the grand scheme of things, it will be classified as regular income.
Yeah, obviously we're doing like a quick overview of them, but there are technicalities that people can take into consideration too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so to sum it up, we think both are really good.
Okay.
I would also live in both countries. They're absolutely amazing. But Greece just gives a little bit more freedom to choose and still having a 7% flat rate.
Okay,
which is
so
amazing.
for a pension, Greece is the winner. 7%, but just barely.
Yeah, barely.
Okay.
Barely.
But definitely way more than France, Spain, and Portugal.
It's of course, anything is possible, as in like you want to live there, you should live there, right? If you just love that country. But from a tax perspective, Italy and Greece are the clear winners.
Okay.
Yep.
Our next profile is something that I don't know much about at all, but I hope you do. I think you do.
We do.
Okay, good. It's crypto, right? So use these words, crypto, investments, traders. Like, what if someone's in that realm?
Yeah, someone is in that realm, then you'll be looking at income from cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
Right, which is not only Bitcoin. It could be Ethereum or even some of the altcoins that people invest in or trade with. And in this category, you have to look at a professional source of income or more occasional, right? I think most people would invest in Bitcoin and they would sell it at one point, right? Or maybe do that a few times. That doesn't classify as a professional trader. Professional day trading or trading at a regular interval would put you into this classification where it's regular income.
Gotcha.
So for those classifications, you would look at regular income for most countries. For like the other classification, the more the occasional one, you have a much more open playing field. And to just come straight out of the bat, because Portugal has gotten quite a bad rap in this interview or this talk.
Oh yeah, so this is a winner.
Portugal wins clearly.
Okay,
yeah.
So Portugal is good for crypto for someone who's not a day trader but just does it occasionally.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, because just like in the US, we have kind of short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains. In Portugal, the same thing applies for cryptocurrencies. So if you hold it for more than a year, you would be exempt from paying taxes. If you hold it less than a year, you'd pay it around 28% capital gains tax.
Okay.
So it's like a night and day difference.
Yeah,
Immediately,
just
you know,
hold
if you
it.
hold it a year,
Yeah.
if you don't trade, if it's a real kind of investment, then you have really favorable regime to work
Okay.
off. And the other countries are also not bad, but they all have kind of different flavors. It's also very new. So let's say we have a fictitious amount that you make of 78,000 in your crypto gains. Then you're looking anywhere from like 15 to maybe 25,000 euros in capital gains tax between these countries.
Okay.
Yeah,
That seems like a lot, no? Is that a lot?
it's quite a lot. It kind of is it depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes more than the capital gains rate of, like, let's say 25% for a normal country, because it can be classified as personal income, like regular employment income.
Okay.
Sorry, personal employment income. But for some countries like Greece, they also have a short capital gains and a long-term capital gains for cryptocurrency specifically.
Okay.
So it varies, but for these countries, you expect to pay kind of anywhere between 15 to 25K if you're looking at this profile. And then maybe to make a quick mention about this, because we do get some inbounds from people, that staking and mining, which are two things
Words
you
that
can do in
I've
crypto.
heard of mining. I have no idea about staking, but okay.
Yeah. You can
That's a
do
thing.
crazy things these days with crypto.
Okay.
But you can stake crypto, and that sometimes is defined as well in like the tax code. In Portugal, it's not. It's all very vague, and it's also very new. But sometimes it can be seen as like, okay, rewards from that or yields from this can be seen as regular employment income, for example. So that's also something to look out for. And then crypto to crypto transactions. So if you don't sell the crypto to like a fiat currency like a euro, but just say you buy Bitcoin, you then buy Ethereum with the Bitcoin.
Okay.
That can in some countries also be seen as a taxable event. So that is also
okay.
something to be looking out for.
Okay. What about if you pay for something with crypto?
Same, because then you will actually cash out the investment, kind of make it
Okay.
liquid in a normal currency, and that will be classified as a taxable event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, Portugal definitely the best because of the vague language and the newness of it. So it's still good.
Yeah. It's vague, but it's also intentionally vague because it's so new, and they wanted to just get some like tax code in writing.
Yeah.
And as long as you just know when you sold things and when you buy things, then you're just really set.
All right, let's bump it up in this profile and go with someone who's doing investments and making around 120,000.
Right. That's complicating the things, or the complicating factors, because if it's from multiple sources, right? If it's not like, okay, I sold some shares of Apple and it's 120,000, but it comes from different things, then some of these categories, like real estate, you still have your house, maybe tax different than the shares that I just talked about, for example. Mm-hmm. But in general, we can make some generalizations here, right? So looking at Spain, that's actually one of our kind of least favorite option for capital gains as an expat.
Okay.
Because the Beckham rule generally doesn't apply for capital gains. It's complex. There's some ways that you can always find out something that works, but it's more complex. So in Spain, the capital gains is progressive, which is very rare around the world. So the more you get from the capital gain, the higher the tax is. Yeah.
Fun.
Exactly. So the total that you would pay on a kind of 120,000 real estate capital gain or general capital gain will be 45,000 in Spain.
Okay.
Which is quite high.
That is high,
because of its progressive taxation rates.
Yeah.
Then if we look at, for example, Italy, there is a lot going on there. You can, if you have...
Good or bad?
Yeah, it's good, but I don't think it necessarily qualifies for this specific profile. Because you can pay off your tax, and you just pay a flat rate of 100,000 euros tax. You have to pay 100,000 euros.
Whoa.
It gets increased to 200,000 soon. But then you don't have to kind of pay anything else above that if you qualify.
Okay.
Right? Under that, you pay the regular capital gains tax rate.
Okay.
Portugal is unfortunately also not a pretty one here.
Oh, poor
But
Portugal.
even with NHR, this would have already been quite tricky.
Okay.
Because you just be subject to the regular capital gains tax of 28% in most cases. So there's no real thing there to be had as an expat, as a special favorable regime. It's still not bad, looking at all of the world's capital gain tax rates. Then we are moving to France. So for France, you are looking at a flat tax of 30%.
Okay.
Then if it's real estate specifically, then you may have to pay 34.5%,
Okay,
more or less.
it's
So it's a
more.
bit higher. Yeah, and this is also what you generally see. Real estate is usually treated differently. And also maybe to talk about real estate and the selling of your house. If you move within the European Union, there are sometimes also rules where you can sell your house in the country where you live, your primary house where you really live, not an investment house where you rent out, and then buy a new house in your country where you go to, and then you have a lot of exemptions around that. Because you move your primary residence to a new country, and then there could be capital gains tax exemption or deductions or tax breaks is really worthwhile looking into as well.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. Moving on to the final contender, Greece. We are looking at a 15% flat tax, which is like super favorable and super good.
All right.
Overall, Greece is a clear winner if you're going for investment income and capital gains. There's also a few exemptions you can have in Greece. For example, if you have a minority stake in a publicly listed company, if you have a minority stake of like less than 0.5%, so very minority, but in big companies that's quite a lot of value, you can have an exemption on your capital gains, which is very favorable. So Greece, it's
Greece is the winner here.
Clear winner.
With all this tax talk, I think a lot of people are confused of when they're actually tax liable. So what is this 183-day rule, and when does someone have to pay taxes?
You hear a lot about this rule. We also get a lot of inquiries. So the 183-day rule is if you consider like moving to another country and you want to stop paying taxes and be liable for taxes in your previous country and start becoming a tax resident in your new country.
Okay.
So there is a rule where you spend 6 months, 183 days, which is a general rule. It doesn't apply to all countries, but the majority of this. That if you spend more than 6 months in a country, you automatically become tax liable in that country. Although that is true on paper, there is more to it in real life.
Okay.
So what the authorities will look at, if it ever becomes into question, in most cases it won't, because you move into a new house, you kind of cancel, terminate your lease in the other one, or sell your house. So then there's not really like a question. But if it's in doubt of like, where do I pay taxes? They look at your whole economic situation and your life. So where is your significant other, your partner, your spouse? Where do you have your children going to school? Where do you have a house, in your name? Where is your cell phone plan? Even where is your gym membership could be important. This is, of course, super niche and very small edge cases. But the 183-day rule is more complex. It's not that if you pass the 183 days that you automatically have to pay taxes in the country. If you still have your life in another country, right, your income, your house, all your children, everything, that will be the place where you will pay taxes. So you don't have to worry if you travel around and you decide to stay for a bit longer in a country.
All right.
Generally not an issue.
So it's just the proof of showing where you actually are. Like not physically, but like where your stuff is.
Your center of life.
Okay,
basically.
your center of
your
life.
Vital, everything you have. Yeah, and 183 day is a component of that, but it's much more holistic than one rule.
Tytle is a modern platform with tax experts in all different countries. So if you want to get in touch with them, then check the description below and they can assist you with your move, where you're moving to, where you're moving from, and what your tax implications will be. And if you want to see where Josh and I think that you should retire to in Europe, then check out this video right here. Now, let's get moving.